All right, so one question that I get asked a lot is why do I hate dividends? I get asked it all the time in my Discord server because if you're in our Discord server, you'll oftentimes see me having these discussions with people where I'm advocating for growth, they're advocating for dividends, I'm talking a lot of crap on dividends, and so people oftentimes come to the conclusion that I hate dividends. So I wanted to make this video explaining why I hate dividends. Now, the crux of the answer is I don't actually hate dividends. If for those of you who follow my Discord server, are in the Discord server, and especially those who have premium membership who can see what stocks I buy, when I had my stock portfolio at its largest in terms of amount of stocks inside of it, all but one of my stocks paid dividends, and there were a few that paid dividends between, I think it was 6 and 8%, which is significantly higher than a lot of standard stocks. So I don't actually hate dividends, I hate focusing on dividends. And that's where you see me come across as this dividend hater. But I don't actually hate them. They're usually part of my portfolio. And currently, as of making this video, 100% of my personal portfolio is in stocks that pay dividends. It's just currently a very low percentage, and none of my focus is ever on dividends. Whenever I am evaluating the market, evaluating stocks, trying to find the next stock that I want to buy, I don't look at the dividend percentage. I factor it in after I've already decided to purchase or not based on different financials, and then also I do briefly look at it just to make sure that it is a sustainable dividend. But I don't actually weigh it into my decision as I'm looking at the growth prospects of whatever company I'm looking to buy. And those of you who follow my Discord server Premium Signals for long-term stocks, you'll know that I outperformed the market by quite a bit. In fact, in 2023, I beat the S&P 500 by double. I doubled the returns of the S&P 500 in a very good year, which is awesome to see. But that's because I focus on growth and I don't focus on dividends. A lot of those stocks did pay dividends during the year of 2023, but that wasn't my focus. And ultimately, why it's not my focus boils down to growth versus dividends. And it comes to taxes. And this is a concept that I seem to have trouble explaining to people, and I'm hoping that this video will do a better job of that. When you get paid dividends, you pay taxes on those dividends each and every year. So most stocks, I believe, pay dividends quarterly. And so you think, okay, well then 4 times a year, I get to take whatever amount that I'm paid and immediately put that back into the stock via drip or just just via manually reinvesting it. And you can absolutely do that. But the problem is that you still owe tax on whatever that amount is. And that amount will have to be paid to the IRS via either your stock portfolio, selling some of your stocks, or just transferring it over, or paying it from your personal bank account. Whereas if you're focused more on growth like myself, the growth that I had, the overwhelming majority of the increase in my portfolio during 2023 was non-taxable. And that's where the key thing comes in. So I see people talking about, oh, it's consistent cash, it's consistent income, yada, yada. Does not matter. When you're looking at stocks, you should be looking for a long-term horizon, typically 30 years or more. And if you look at the averages over 30 years, we're probably going to average about the same amount in my growth versus your dividend portfolio in terms of the gains each and every year. And this is obviously talking about averages. There are years where I'm going to gain more in my growth. There are years you're going to gain more in your dividends, or you're going to lose less than I lose in a given year where the market's down. But overall, in a given year, you're probably going to see, on average, you're looking at a 30-year time span, for example, about the same gains that I get. But here's the difference, and I'm going to use a scenario that is very unlikely, but I'm using it as an example because it'll help explain the round numbers of the math behind what I'm talking about. So let's say you and I are both investing in the stock market with different goals. We both have a $100,000 stock portfolio. Mine is focused on growth and yours is focused on dividends. Because on a long-term time frame, we'll likely have roughly the same gains over a given year. We'll use the market average for the S&P 500, which is about 10%. So let's say that this upcoming year, we're each going to gain 10%. I'm gaining 10% in my growth. You're gaining 10% in your dividend portfolio. The way that this works out is my $100,000 stock portfolio grows from $100,000 to $110,000 and then rolls over into the next year at $110,000. So then I have my original $100,000, I have the $10,000 in gains, and I'm going to be gaining compound interest each and every year on both of those. My $100,000 plus my $10,000 gain plus any gains that I get going forward from there. Your portfolio is going to be looking slightly different because you have your original $100,000, but you have your $10,000 in taxable dividends. And let's just say, to make things easy, that your taxable rate on your dividends is 15%. It's going to differ for every person, and it depends on qualified dividends versus non-qualified dividends and so on and so forth. But to keep the math easy, we'll say 15%. What that means is you're going to have to pay $1,500 in tax that year, either from selling stock, from not reinvesting $1,500 and transferring that to your bank account, or $1,500 from your bank account. That's $1,500 less that you're not able to reinvest back into the market. So at the end of that first year, you have $108,500 invested, whereas I have $110,000, that $1,500 difference. That $1,500 for me is going to be compounding each and every year. And over a 30-year time span, that $1,500 is going to be a large amount. Not only that, but each and every year, you're going to have a certain amount taken out from those taxes that will then also compound over the remaining 30 years on top of that. So in the grand scheme of things, over a 20, 30, 40, even potentially 50-year stock portfolio, gain, holding, whatever you want to call it, it is going to make a massive difference if you are paying significant taxes each and every year versus those that focus more on growth. Now, there are absolutely people out there that focus on dividends and have incredibly successful stock portfolios, and it's very likely you'll still have that if you're investing in the stock market versus having your money elsewhere. But you're having significantly less than if you were to focus on growth, because growth is not taxed until you sell. And my growth would then be compounding in on itself over and over again each and every year, where yours wouldn't, because you paid that to the IRS. That money is no longer yours. Now, a time where it is appropriate to focus on dividends is if you have a large enough stock portfolio to retire off of. You can transfer it over to dividend-paying stocks, high-yield dividend stocks, for example, and use the proceeds from each dividend you receive to pay for all of your basic living expenses, so that way you can retire and live completely off of your stock portfolio. That's a time where it absolutely is not only acceptable, but something I will likely look at doing down the road if I don't find another avenue to put that cash in to retire and have that income stream, as there are other options too. Again, I'm not saying dividends are bad, and I definitely don't hate them, but I don't like the focus on dividends, especially if you're early in your career, if you're young and you have many years down the road in your stock portfolio. That's about it for this topic, guys. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comment section below, or in the description, there is a link to our Discord, and you can absolutely ask questions there or message me there, and I'm happy to respond. Thank you for watching. Hope you guys have a great day. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.